Welcome to the Songwriter Connection podcast, where we look at the craft of songwriting through the eyes of the songwriter. Each week, we make a connection with a music maker, listen to their songs, and hear their stories. From Nashville, Tennessee, here's your host, Dave Lenihan.
As always, thank you for the listen and the download. If you're on YouTube, you know the story. Like and subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Songwriter Connection podcast. This is Season 3, Episode 25, and we've got the Hall of Famer back. Kent Blazy is with us. Hey, Kent, how you doing?
I'm honored to be back. Yeah. It's always fun.
I guess I didn't offend you enough last time, huh? Talking about that Garth guy and stuff.
It was close, but, you know, you got to be thick-skinned here in the music business. So.
Yeah, you do. Listen, I want to tell you, if you missed that episode, it was Season 3, Episode 3.
Okay.
And it was back in April that we published, and it was a great episode. And I encourage you to go back and listen to that one, too, because we got Kent Blazy's story there, talking about getting into that Songwriter Hall of Fame, which is, you're still riding high from that, aren't you?
I'm still riding. I still pinch myself.
Yeah, you know? Man. That is so great. And we talk about, one of my favorite stories is, you know, how you and Garth wrote, If Tomorrow Never Comes. That story is just absolutely amazing.
I know. It just shows you that this town, and I'm not the only one that has experienced it, but there's magic and miracles. You just never know when they're going to show up. And
every single day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I do want to thank our local sponsor, which is the Mark Allen Barnett Tours. Mark's a good friend, has been a great mentor to me. We're heading down to the Songwriter Festival in Gatlinburg this week. We're taping this episode August the 17th for a September 14th publish. So maybe, you know, in future shows we'll talk about the Songwriter Festivals, which I think is a pretty cool thing. And if you're a songwriter, I think you should, that's something you should aspire to do. So that's going to be cool. But anyway, Mark Allen's tours, there are a lot of tours you can take when you come to Nashville. The thing about Mark Allen's, if you are a songwriter, you know, he's going to take you in. He's going to introduce you to industry people. He's going to take you around. He's going to work on your performance, work on your songs. He's going to write with you. And he will do a lot for you. They up your game 3 to 5 years in just one of these tours. Check him out on our Facebook page. If you go to the Songwriter Connection podcast Facebook page, there's a little video that Mark posted about what he does on his tours, and you can also check out his webpage, which is markallenbarnett.com. You don't choose music chooses you, as Mark says. And if that isn't the truth, I don't know what.
That is the truth.
Yeah, and it's Allen, A-L-A-N. Mark Allen Barnett is E-T-T-E. So thanks, Mark. Appreciate all you do. So back to you, Kent. Man, you got a new record out, and it's pretty cool. I've been listening to it since it's come out, and it's got a little something for everything. You got some rock and roll in there with some with important messages that I think it does homage to your Woodstock roots a little bit, but you also got classy things like Twilight Time, and you talk about very autobiographical songs like the title cut. You call this album For the Byrds, right?
Yeah, kind of an homage to them for me being where I am today.
Yeah. You know, a couple weeks back we had Hits and Grins on. That's Steve Dean and Bill White and Victoria Veneer. And right. Steve and them have a song called If It Wasn't for the Beatles. Well, they blame it on the Beatles, right?
Right. Well, you know,
and the Byrds that really got you there,
right?
Yeah.
You know, everybody that I know just about started playing guitars because of the Beatles. But for me, it was the Byrds. It took that sound of that 12-string to get me going. Yeah,
that Rickenbacker 12-string, right? Oh man, it just pulls you right in. Doesn't it
pulls you right in, and there's no other sound like it.
There really isn't. Yeah.
And McGuinn really got a totally different sound. He was way ahead of everybody else on electronics and stuff. And so most people can't make the Rickenbacker sound like that. The guy who comes the closest is Mike Campbell from Tom Petty. He's got it nailed, you know. And Petty's covered 2 or 3 of the Byrds songs.
Petty loved them, yeah. In fact, I saw, I think it was Netflix or one of those streaming shows. I want to say, I can't remember exactly which one it was, but Petty was narrating it. And he talked about Rickenbacker guitars and picked one up on the show. He called it Rickenbacker, and I never heard it that way before. And now it's got me wondering, is it Backer or Bacher? I guess it's whatever you choose, tomato, right?
Whatever. I think the guy's name was German, and you know, so some people called it one thing and one called it the other. And you know, I always kid that if Bob Dylan and Roger McGuinn had a kid, it would have been Tom Petty.
Yeah,
because he took the sound of both of them and melded it together into what he was.
Oh, that's
pretty cool.
That's right on too. And you know, I even heard Paul McCartney at times talking about when the Byrds came out with that sound. You know, they go, oh, we gotta figure out what that is. We got to go in that direction a little bit. So.
Well, and what it was McGuinn saw Harrison playing a 12-string. Harrison got the very first one, and it was in A Hard Day's Night.
Oh.
And so McGuinn kind of tracked it down and found out what he had, but Harrison didn't know how to make it sound like McGuinn made it sound. It was kind of more of a backup thing where McGuinn's was, this is going to be what the sound is. And so they had built-in compressors and everything else in that Rickenbacker, and it just stood out.
I know a lot of people are going to go back and listen to Turn, 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 and and Mr. Tambourine Man.
Yeah, 8 Miles High.
8 Miles High. Oh my gosh!
Feel a whole lot better when you're gone. That's a great one.
Absolutely. So let's play this. The title cut from your CD. I'm going to play from the record. This is For the Byrds, Kent Blazy, and this is a solo write for you. But it's 11 new tracks on this record.
Right.
You have a co-writer. We're going to be talking about him, but this is your solo write, and this is For the Byrds on the Songwriter Connection podcast. Kent Blazy's our guest.
If it wasn't for the birds, I don't know where I'd be today. All I know is when I heard that sound, my very whole life changed. If it wasn't for the birds singing Mr. Tambourine Man, maybe give it my bat and glove and get a guitar in my hand.
So many allusions to Byrds and Byrds songs. It's all about the Byrds.
It's all about the Byrds.
Or the Byrds. B-Y-R-D-S. That's the new CD from Kent Blazy. Hall of Fame songwriters with us around the dining room table today. And that new record is available on your website, right? KentBlazy.com.
iTunes, Amazon.
All of them.
All of them, I guess, anymore. That's what you got to do.
That's what you got to do. But I hope that you will buy a physical copy of the record. You'll want that.
Well, CDs still sound better than anything.
Yeah. Except for maybe vinyl.
Yeah, except for vinyl, but
I'm a vinyl guy.
I can't afford to put it on vinyl.
I hear you. It is expensive.
And they're backed up like 6 or 8 months because so many people are doing that.
Yeah, they are now. They're all going back to the vinyl. Yeah, I'm thinking about it on my new project, but like you said, it's expensive.
Yes,
so we'll see. Yeah, tell us about the production of that song. Now, I know you have your own studio, but you didn't record that. Where was this recorded? And
this one was recorded at Garth's studio.
At Garth's studio,
and he was nice enough to let me get in there and do it. And he's got a great studio that Alan Reynolds had, and he turned it into his studio and lets me use it when I want to. And so we went in. I was lucky enough to have 2 of the guys in John Party's band.
I was going to say you had some players on this, didn't you?
Yeah, John Party's guys. They played on the Authentic record too, and because John wasn't out on the road. So now he's out on the road, and I can't get him till November because I'm ready to do another record. Yeah. But and then Steve Allen was a big co-writer on this, and he was also the other electric guitar player on this. And I call it our COVID records. I did 3 records during COVID. Yeah. But Steve and I started writing during the Authentic when I wrote Thanks to You with him, which was the title cut on that album. And so when COVID hit, nobody wanted to write with anybody, of course, and then Steve lives like 5 minutes from me, so
that helps.
He would come over and he would sit outside on the porch, and I would stay inside, and we would write through the screen door. Oh my! Yeah, and then we got where we would both wear masks and be 6 feet apart, and then we got where we would be 6 feet apart. But all this time we were writing songs, and Steve was in a big pop group called 2020. Which was really big in the 80s. You can go to American Bandstand and see him on there with Dick Clark and stuff. Wow. But he writes anything, and so I can run any kind of idea by him, and he's up for it, which is pretty cool because in Nashville these days people go, well, I don't know who's going to record that, you know? And I'm kind of like, I just love writing what I want to write, and so I can throw any title out to him, and he'll go, yeah, let's do that.
Let's write that. Let's find a twist on that. Yeah,
and so that's really cool.
That's cool. Yeah,
we wrote most of the songs on the record together, and it was just fun. And it's always fun recording with him. He plays in my live band, and I've had John Party's guys doing it till John went out on the road. So now we just have done some shows with a new bass player and drummer, and they're fantastic too. We did a sold-out thing at the Listening Room, and then the next night at the Bluebird. So,
wow. 2 of the best venues here in
Yeah, and I just love playing electric guitar, so I got to do that.
Did you? Yeah. Played electric on it. There you go. Yeah.
And I'm doing
Did you play the Rickenbacker 12?
No, Steve's got the 12-string, and so I let him take the lead on that. Yeah. And he's such a great guitar player that most of the time I'll give him the solos, you know, and I'll maybe play an answer to him or something. But there you go. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool indeed. Now, you know, to have that connection in a co-writer, I think that's a special feeling because sometimes you get in a room and you do a lot of co-steering.
Exactly.
But to have someone like that you can connect with and seem to have a song every time you sit down, come up with something. And that's rare, isn't it?
It is very rare. And, you know, part of it is I call him my brother from another mother because he kind of grew up in the same time period as I did, so I can mention, well, let's do something like the Mamas and Papas, and he knows what it is. Or if I go, let's get a Petty thing on there, or let's do, you know, he's just, he's locked into all of it, and he plays with the Long Players, which I don't know if you've ever heard them before, but it's Bill Lloyd's group, but it's all studio musicians, and they only play at 3rd and Lindsley, but they always do a vinyl record. Nice. That's why they're the Long Players. So they'll do like a whole Tom Petty or whole Byrds or Buffalo Springfield or Rolling Stone.
Like do a whole side?
Do a whole album.
Well, I've got to see them.
Yeah, you got to see them. I mean, the problem is they're so popular that you got to show up like at 5 o'clock for an 8 o'clock show. Oh, man. And sit there because otherwise you're going to stand up the whole time. And
do they promote in advance what they're going to do?
They do, yeah.
Oh, I'd love it.
Usually about a month in advance. I think the next one's in November. But and they bring in, like Marshall Crenshaw may come and sit in, or one of the people that played with the McCartney or something like that. It's always really great people they bring in from out of town to sing and play. And
that is so cool. Yeah. Absolutely. Very, very cool. You know, you've written so many hits over the years, and we were just I was just looking again. Again, Songwriter Hall of Fame, Kent Blazy. Just some of the songs that come to mind. If Tomorrow Never Comes, which we've talked about, Ain't Going Down to the Sun comes up. And I remember the first time hearing that on the radio. I was working for Ep25 in Cincinnati. Our morning guy, Jim Fox and Bubba Bo, played that as we were driving. And I can't remember where we were driving, but they played it. And it just blew us away. I mean, you know, when we went in the car, and it's like the fastest thing we've ever heard. And they come on laughing, going, I think he needs to speed that up a little bit. You know, it's just, you know, just a fantastic song. And of course, a big hit. And you've had other hits like, well, you know, one of my favorites was Getting You Home.
Right.
People call the Black Dress song.
Right.
What a sexy song. By Chris Young. Mm-hmm. And I thought it'd be really cool if you could play that for us too, and then we'll get back into your new record, which I really want to talk a lot about. So.
You know, and the funny thing is, I wrote this with a great co-writer friend of mine, and Chris. It was the first song we ever wrote together, Corey Batten.
Oh, Corey Batten.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when we were working on this, it was one of those days like you were talking about, nobody liked anybody else's ideas.
Yeah.
And
what else you got, right?
Yeah, what else? And so it's kind of it's frustrating because Chris needed a hit, but he also, if he didn't have a hit, he was going to be dropped. And so there was that pressure of, can we write a hit for him?
So was he in the room too?
He was in the room, yeah.
Okay.
And nobody liked anybody else's ideas. And one day, about 6 months before, Corey, who we've been writing every Thursday since, I don't know, early 2000s, he always gets hungry. Mm. Every songwriter's starving, you know, so I'd fix him organic hot dogs. It's not an oxymoron, but it sounds
such
like
a thing.
it.
Yeah.
But one day he had his head in the refrigerator getting out the mustard and the relish and stuff, and I heard him saying, all I can think about is getting you home. And I said,
wow.
What is that? He said, I just made it up. I said, here, sing it in my phone.
Wow.
So here we are with Chris, and we got nothing. So I said, well, let me find this idea. So I played it, and Corey said, well, I love that. And I said, yeah, it's your idea. Mm. And Chris said, well, we don't have anything better to write. Why don't we write that? So we started writing, and we got to walking through the front door. And nobody could think of what rhymes with door, professional songwriters that we are. And so I said, how about seeing her black dress hit the floor?
Ooh.
They hated it.
They hated it.
They turned on me like vipers. And Corey said, you're just a dirty old man.
Oh, yeah. Well.
I said, well, yeah, I won't argue that. And Chris said, I want to get on the radio, not kicked off. And
oh, man.
So, you know, I thought it was a great line. And I'd had pretty good luck with standing in the kitchen with nothing but an apron on. You know, that song went number one. And,
yeah.
And so I said, okay, you guys come up with something. And they didn't. So we took a lunch break, and I fixed them hot dogs. And Corey was looking around the room, and he said, you know, he's had some pretty good luck with risque songs. So Chris said, well, let's put it in there. Put it in there. Mm-hmm. Finished the song. Did a little guitar work tape of Chris singing it at my house, and took it down to RCA, and they said, we love this song. We want to cut it next week on Chris. So I'm like, okay. Sure enough, next week they did call, and they said, we cut it. We love it. It's going to be the first single, but we got to change something.
Mm. Not that line.
Well, they said, we like the title of Getting You Home, but in parentheses, we want to call it the Black Dress Song.
What?
So I felt like the dirty old man got vindicated.
Yes, you did.
And then when it got to be a hit, people knew it as the Black Dress Song.
As the Black Dress Song, yeah.
So you just never know. Out of a refrigerator comes the number one song.
People calling up radio, and that's why they'd ask, I want that Black Dress song.
That's like, yeah, you never know.
You never know.
Tuxedo waiter, black tie, white tablecloths, and red wine. We've been planning this night, looking forward to it for some time. Well, honey, I know you love getting dressed up, and you know I love showing you off. But watching your baby blue eyes dancing in the candlelight glow, well, all I can think about is getting you home. Walking through the front door and seeing your black dress hit the floor. Well, honey, the sure ain't nothing like you loving me all night long. And all I can think about is getting you home. I don't need no menu, no I don't. I already know just what I want. Did I hear you right? Did you tell me? Go pay the waiter and let's leave. Well, honey, I know by that look in your eyes and your hand drawing hearts on mine. Our night out of the house ain't gonna last too long, when all you can think about is getting me home. Walking through the front door and seeing your black dress hit the floor. Well, honey, the sure ain't nothing like you loving me all night long. And all I can think about is getting you home. Walking through the front door and seeing your black dress hit the floor. Honey, the sure ain't nothing like you loving me all night long. And all I can think about, well, all I can think about, well, all I can think about is getting you home.
Wow, what a great song. So well written, the Black Dress song, and it almost ended up on the cutting room floor.
Pretty much, I don't know what we would have done that day if it wasn't for that.
Unbelievable. What a great story, Ken. Chris is such a great guy.
Yeah.
I've read recently on the Facebook page, a fellow songwriter playing down at a bar on Broadway, and there isn't a lot of people there. And they're playing the tables and chairs, just him and a buddy.
Right.
And he's saying, I'm not going to blow my voice out for Arlene, but every now and then they sing a song, right? And Chris Young comes walking in. He goes, I was listening in the other room, and I just want to make sure you guys didn't get nothing today because I like what you do and you got a good voice. Tipped him $100.
I love it.
Yeah. And he's done that kind of thing in the past.
Well, he's been there,
Yeah.
He's done that. He knows what it's like when nobody's listening.
Isn't it cool? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, you wrote that, co-wrote with the artist and another one. How important today? I mean, that seems like the writers today want to write with the artists, and there's a reason for that, isn't there?
Well, what's happened was, and this was kind of pre this whole thing that's developed in the last 10 years or so, but it's always been better if you can get with an artist. And back in the 90s, especially, it was a lot easier to get with artists. But what happened was when CDs stopped getting sold, all the mechanicals disappeared.
Yeah.
So trying to be a songwriter and live on mechanicals was impossible. So the record labels came up with this 360 idea.
They get a portion of everything, right?
They own everything.
Yeah.
And so when an artist gets signed, they want him to write with the people that they own part of, so everything, all the money's right there, and the same thing. And
I can see.
Like,
so there's very little outside songs. It's hard, isn't it?
No, and the thing about Garth that I loved, and other, Chesney's great, McGraw, but half of every record of Garth's was outside songs, so he had to dance, and he had Friends in Low Places and Shameless, Two of a Kind, that he wouldn't have had, and they took him to another level. And I don't see them looking for outside songs like that now. And so by trying to make more money, I think they're making less money. Because if you could do a great song like The House That Built Me or I Drive His Truck, it seems like it's going to push your career that much further. But
and we talked about in the last podcast, Drive Off the Road songs, I think you call them.
Exactly, that's right.
Those impact songs.
Yeah, and I really don't hear those as much these days.
So that could be the reason why we're hearing less of them, huh?
Yeah, I think it is. And the sad part is, like, I love the men are young writers. And The last call I got from 3 of them in 2019 was, "Hey, I got a record deal." Never heard from them again.
Wow.
Because once they get a record deal, they're told who they have to write with. They're not strong enough to fight for who they believe in that helped them along the way.
And they don't want to rock the boat that early.
No, they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to lose their record deal. And so it's kind of sad, but it gets to the point where you go, why am I doing this? So during COVID, that's why I basically started just writing more by myself. And
what you want to write?
Yeah, write what I want to write and not have to deal with that kind of thing.
I've heard other songwriters have that same horror story. Writing with a young up-and-comer, gets signed, and then they never hear from them again. It's crazy.
It is.
But that's the nature of the business today too.
So you teach them for 3 or 4 years, and on to the next thing. And that's the cool thing about Garth is the loyalty that he has for the people at the beginning. That I don't really see that anymore in the people coming up. It's like. He stood up for what he wanted to do to Jimmy Bowen when he could have lost his record deal. And, because of that, Bowen respected him. So there is that part of it that maybe you got to take a chance and do what you believe. And
absolutely.
It's interesting times.
It really is. And you talk about the mechanical royalties. So there's 2 ways that songwriters get paid. Mechanical royalties and royalties they get from airplay. And streaming, but that's very little. But from airplay, especially radio. So if you've got a single... it used to be you can make a living with a cut on a Garth Brooks album, right?
Exactly.
If that thing ships 14 million and you've got mechanicals on, that's a nice payday.
That is. And a lot of people had a really good living during the 90s when just about everybody was selling at least gold or platinum. And these days, they don't even know what platinum is much. They add all these different figures in, and it's like, okay.
I got 1 million streams on Spotify. Well, my day, those were sales, it would be platinum, but nothing on, But it's interesting that you say that, and so darn true. Wow, there was a point I wanted to make there, and I forgot, but it'll come to me.
Okay. I got you.
The mechanicals we were talking about not being there anymore, and getting royalties from radio. So today you really want to have the single because
you got to have a single if you're going to make a living.
Yeah, hopefully radio is going to play it. And it's going to get spun a lot.
Right. And so that's basically what the record labels know. So they want any single that they have to be where they own it all. And
it's not about the money, right, Kent?
It's all about the money.
It's all about the money.
That's what my friend in Ireland says. It's not about the money. It's all about the money.
It's all about the money. Yeah. I've heard it's all about the effing money. But So, but that's the unfortunate thing today. Do you see it ever turning? I mean, will it turn?
Everybody says, well, it's going to go back to what it was, 90 countries. It's one thing I keep hearing from all these young artists.
Well, that's the point I wanted to make. You just hit it. Yeah. Isn't it funny that today the 90s country is the hot thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But they say they want it, but they really don't want it because they really, it's weird. It's a weird time.
It was a special time. I was a DJ all through the 90s in that country. It was just absolutely nuts. And people don't realize, but even us lowly disc jockeys with the radio faces were rock stars.
Oh yeah,
it was amazing and a wonderful time.
And now there's hardly any DJs that are rock stars anymore. It's,
they don't want that. No.
And we grew up where when an album came out, a whole album, we would probably sit down and listen to the whole thing. And a lot of times, what wasn't the hit became our favorite song. And these days, I think everybody just pretty much downloads what the hit is. And so you can have a cut on, say, a Tim McGraw album, but if nobody downloads it or plays it, you don't make any money. So it's a weird time. And I don't know how it would shift back because, Spotify and all these people, they don't want to pay us. We just won an increase last month. Yeah. And they said, well, we don't have the money to pay it.
Oh!
And it's been in court for 2 years. It's like, why don't you set the money aside in case?
Yeah.
And so now it's probably 2 more years before what they owe us will be paid to us.
That's insane because that is $1 billion industry.
Yes.
Multi-billion-dollar industry. They say the average person at Spotify makes like $165,000 a year, but they can't pay the songwriters for their songs. I'm on the soapbox a little bit here. You know what else is? Why are you mentioning that else is fair? Coming from the radio industry, having friends that own radio stations, what they pay in royalties is it's unbelievable. I mean, it's based like even little tiny radio stations. Like my buddy Doug and his wife Lori own 2 little radio stations just outside of Cleveland. What they pay to the PROs, BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, and there's another big one now, Global. It's absolutely amazing. Based on their billing every month, they pay. It is a huge nut to crack. $4,000 or $5,000 on this little radio station a month for the rights to play those. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it's totally unbalanced.
It's unbalanced. That's what it is. It's not wrong. It's unbalanced.
It's unbalanced. The streaming platforms need to step up. Somehow we've got to get them to pay their fair share. And I don't know what the answer is. I
don't know either. I mean, it's government regulated on what our rates are.
Yeah.
But, they can plead that they're not making any money. But, and I don't know what your political beliefs are, y'all listening, but they pay Joe Rogan $200 million a year.
Yeah.
They can't pay us. I mean.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense at all.
It does not at all. Well, let's get off the soapbox.
Yeah,
let's get back to
talk about music that we love.
You've got this great new record out, and I've really been enjoying it. Listen, 11 new songs, and like I said, a little bit for everyone. You've got rockers like you debuted on the last time you were here, Crossing the Rubicon, which is a great song. I really love She Believed in Me, which is kind of slower. World Starts Closing In is one of my favorite tracks because it got that riff, kind of riff oriented myself.
That's Steve Allen.
Steve Allen, that's your guy, right?
Yeah, I say, come on, do something like Dire Straits would do, or something like that, and he and he does it. You know?
And I'm hearing all these different influences like that throughout this record, and I really want to encourage people to get it and listen. How about playing another song from there?
Yeah, I wanted it to be an eclectic thing, you know, and so I think it ended up being that way. But
I think so too. I think you accomplished it.
She Believed in Me was a song. Have I ever told you the story behind it?
No, you never did.
Okay, so my late wife and I had been here in Nashville, Tennessee for a while, and I had some things happening, and I had some other things that kind of fell apart. And so the breaking point for me was I had a single coming out on a big artist, and this was when they had records, and it would be on the sticker, featuring hit singles, blah, blah, blah. And so the album came out and it had it on there, and it's supposed to be the second single, and my stepson was going to be going to college, so being the songwriter I had all the money spent already, to pay for his college. That's where the money was going to go. And the week before the single was supposed to come out, they changed it to something else. The 45 had been printed and everything.
Oh, man.
And so, of course, I was crushed because how am I going to pay for my stepson to go to college now? So I went down into a deep funk, and I ended up going to work for Joe Glazer, working on guitars for about 6 months, just trying to figure out what I was going to do. And one day I got a call from a guy in Lexington, Kentucky, where I'm from, who owned a music store up there. And he had been like a second father to me, loaned me equipment and, let me pay on time and all that stuff. And he said, hey, I'm going to get out of the business. I'm going to retire. I want you to move back to Lexington and run the store, and I'll sell it to you, over time. And I'm like, this is great. I would love to do that. And so I couldn't wait for my wife to get home, and she came home, and I said, she's from Frankfort, Kentucky, and I said, hey, we get to move back to Lexington. I can run this music store and I can own it. And she said, I didn't move here for you to move back home.
Wow.
And I was floored. I didn't think that would be the case at all.
Oh, my.
And we were living out in Franklin, and I'd pretty much become recluse. And she said, we need to move back into Nashville, and you need to, get back into what you were doing. And I'm like, okay. So we moved back into Nashville, and 2 weeks later I met Garth when he was cleaning churches and selling boots. But he wanted to sing demos in my demo studio.
Oh, man.
And that's how I met him. And, the rest is history. So
wow. What a special woman.
Yeah. So when I was writing my Hall of Fame speech, I let Steve read it and some other people just to get their input. And Steve said, well, you need to write a song about that story, And I'm like, that's too close. I can't write a story about it, But he just kept pressuring me to write it. So that's the She Believed in Me that's on that thing is because of him. I wouldn't have done it otherwise, and that's what a friend's there for, you know. And I love the way it turned out, and I love the way John Party's guys played on it. And
Amazing.
It was just one of those stories that every songwriter should hear, that, you know, right when you think it's the worst possible thing that's going to happen, something else comes along and changes it all around for you. But
that's
the
great.
one thing I wanted to do was, you said you like Twilight Time.
I do like that one too.
And, you know, the funny thing about that is, and this happens on most records that I do, but also records that I buy, it's like the silent little song on the record. And it's the last song on the record. And it's kind of a slow thing, but so many people come up and go, I love that song, you know. And so when we were doing these shows, what I've ended up doing lately is I do a singer-songwriter thing, but it's with the band, where I tell the stories, and then the band plays instead of me just playing. And so, you know, we had our list of songs we were doing off the new record and the other record, and a bunch of people came up and said, next time do that Twilight Time thing. And so when you said it today, I thought, okay, that's good. So I can do that one for you. Because,
absolutely. You know, actually, I want to hear both of those songs if you don't
Okay.
mind. So,
Yeah.
but let me take a little break real
You
quick,
got it.
and we'll be right back. Kent Blazy, our guest.
You're listening to the Songwriter Connection, connecting with music makers and hearing their songs and stories. Now back to the show with your host, Dave Linehan.
Hall of Fame songwriter Kent Blazy is our guest. He just set up two great songs that are on this new CD for the Byrds, and go play one of them right now, right, Kent?
All right, I'll play the one I was just talking about. She
Yeah.
Believed in Me.
Love
And,
it. This is a great
I
song.
was trying to get like a Mavis Staples, kind of Staples sisters, brothers, Stax feel on this. And those guys came up with a really cool thing. So let's see. I was ready to quit. I'd given up. Said goodbye to the dream that I love. She said, let's pack it up. She told me no. She said, I didn't move here for you to go back home. She believed in me when I lost my way. Oh, she believed in me. Yeah, she kept the faith when I no longer believed in myself. She was the only one who could help. Oh, she gave me the strength that I need, 'cause she believed in me. Her words picked me up when I was way past down. It took her love for me to turn my world around. And I know the reason for all I have today, and every single miracle that's ever come my way, 'cause she believed in me when I lost my way. Oh, she believed in me. Yeah, she kept the faith when I no longer believed in myself. She was the only one who could help. Yeah, she gave me the strength that I need, 'cause she believed in me. Oh yeah, she believed in me. Yeah, she kept the faith, 'cause she believed in me.
That's so nice. Kent Blazy, and that's from the new record, the Byrds, for the Byrds, but done live around the dining room table of the Songwriter Connection podcast. You mentioned, you should write that song, but I'm too close to it, you said. Yeah, and it is hard. My wife Patty would say, you never write a song for me? Well, I'd say laughingly, I'd say, well, it's because Brick House has been written already.
There you go. That's a good answer.
And also, it's just hard. It really is. And I so identify with that song the first time I heard of it. I thought about Patty because she's the same way, you know. We were living in Cincinnati, and I worked in radio there for 20-some years and ran a broadcast school. And I got involved with NSAI and was a coordinator for a little while and was coming down to Nashville to write a lot and meeting new friends. So we had this idea, rather than getting a hotel every time, maybe put together a little writer's room, buy a condo or a little house down here, make it a writer's room that we can rent out Airbnb when we don't use it, or a VRBO. And I started looking very serious. And one day we were on our deck in Cincinnati, enjoying an adult. It was a gin and tonic. And she says, I have to tell you something. I go, what's the matter? She goes, I'm just not feeling this idea of buying a property there. I don't think I want to have a property that we're 4 hours away from, and have somebody else running it. And I said, well, yeah, I understand. Mm-hmm. And okay, well, we'll ditch that idea. And she goes, but what? She said, I wouldn't mind moving there. I said, really? Are we doing this?
Right.
And the more we thought about it, it seemed like the thing to do. And here we are. And it's worked out so amazing, wonderful. But it wasn't for her believing in me,
Yeah, I mean, that's very rare, to have anybody in your family think, well, why don't we go to Nashville?
Yeah.
And, I tell every young artist and writer that I meet that's here, you got to be crazy to move here, but you got to be crazy not to and wonder, what would I have done if I didn't move here? And I mean, look at what you're doing, and it wouldn't have happened in Cincinnati.
No, it wouldn't have. I mean, we had a cut in Cincinnati,
right?
Chancey Williams and the Younger Brothers, who are doing some magical things. I think they're touring with Cody Johnson and I think Party too, and they're doing some really cool things. So I mean, but being here is different.
Yeah, there's an energy here that's nowhere else.
And there is a community of writers that get it. Mm-hmm. I mean, soon after coming here, my writing schedule is full. Trying to get fit them in, because you want to write with different people, and it just grows. And we were so harsh on the I was on the last segment talking about where the industry is today. But I think, put all that aside, if you're a songwriter and you have that passion for it, that's not the reason you're doing it anyway. It shouldn't be, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's nice if that happens, and that's great. And there are other ways. I mean, a lot of people they're I'm going to record these songs myself. I've got great songs,
right?
And there are venues to do that. I mean, one nice thing about the way the internet is today is a lot of these do-it-yourself artists are making a nice income. Touring,
doing it themselves.
So
I played a show with a young girl, a benefit at the Bluebird, and she's huge on TikTok.
Yeah,
and she said, "I don't even want a record deal.
Huh.
I make more money just being on TikTok, and anywhere I travel and tour in the country, TikTok people show up.
They know,
and so it's a whole new world. It's a different world than mine. But if it works for the young artist, I'm all for it. And the ones who know how to work it."
Yeah.
Can do pretty good.
I'll tell you one that knows how. She was recently a guest. Was Allie Colleen.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And she talked about how she likes the TikTok kids, as she called them.
Right.
It feeds her. She says it satisfies her.
Yeah, and that's that young 20-something group. They know how to do all that stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. So where does that leave us?
Well, my only TikTok's on my watch, so
Mine too. I had a social media person say, "Do you have a TikTok?" I go, "No, you got to get a TikTok. Maybe someday."
Well, the sad part is, I talk to a lot of these young artists, and what the record label wants more than anything is social numbers.
Yes,
more than the music or anything else, and when I was here in town, people worked their way up in the music business that wanted to be artists by singing demos.
Yeah.
And they got heard by the record labels. Well, now it's how many social numbers do you have, whether we're interested in signing you or not. And so I see so many of them, instead of being creative, they're on their computer all the time figuring out how to get their numbers up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's not bad or good or whatever. It's just a different way of doing
the way
things.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it the same with when you're pitching a song? Do they want to know the numbers? Is that out there? Is that getting...
They want to know who you wrote it with. you know, and if it's a big name, then it sounds better to them.
I see. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You know, they want to go with somebody who's got a track record, but I always found that interesting. Well, who'd you write that with? You know, well, do you like it or not? Well, who'd you write it with? So,
yeah. That. And who's your track guy?
well, that's the new thing.
Yeah.
You know, I had a friend who was trying to get a record deal. Well, actually, he was trying to get a publishing deal, and he's had like 3 or 4 number ones, and the 2 questions were, who's your track guy? And the second one is, what artist can you write with? And so it's like, okay. So all these songs I brought you, it doesn't matter if they moved you or not. What matters are those 2 questions.
That's
different.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. I want it to be about the song, don't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the song. And maybe that's why we're not hearing those pull off the side of the road songs as much anymore, because they're forcing it with the those 360 deals in those artists. So I don't want to believe that's true, but it seems like it maybe is.
You know, we just have to be the ones that write those songs.
We just have to.
And maybe every once in a while, like I Drive Your Truck or House That Built Me, I thought that would open a door again. Yeah. And it really didn't, but those shone like bright lights in the middle of everything else, you know. Yeah. So
every now and then.
Every now and then. And, you know, it may swing back more the other way.
I think if you're a songwriter, here's what I think, and just my humble opinion. Think less about who you want to write for, and think about how you're going to write a great song. Mm-hmm. You know, yeah. Who's this? Who are we writing for today? Are we writing for sync today? Let's write a sync song.
Well, yeah, I see you've been in that
Let's write a
room.
good song. Yeah. Let's write a good song, okay?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Am I wrong?
You know, I don't think you are, but it's just a different world, you know.
It is a different world. I love getting your take because Hall of Famer, you've been there, you've done it, and you've written for everything. And
it's just, how do you feel at the end of the day or the end of the week?
Yeah.
At what you've accomplished that week and what you've written, you know, and
yeah.
It's the other thing is, you know, and this was happening back in the 90s too. They have these young artists writing with so many people that, you know, twice a day writes and stuff. And it gets where they don't even remember Monday what they wrote.
What did I
by
write
Friday, you know, and so some things get missed.
I can't even tell you what I had for dinner 2 days ago. Can I tell you what song I wrote? Yeah, you know, right. I hear you. Yeah. I mean, hundreds of songs, you know, a year. What are you going to do with them all?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And how many of them do you remember, you know? And so
quality, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes the quantity strengthens you as a writer. So
well, that's exactly true. I mean, you know, I saw that with Kim Williams when he moved to town. He wrote 7 days a week, 4 times a day.
7 days a week.
Yes, he did.
4 times a day.
4 times a day with anybody and everybody who would write with him.
Incredible.
And so in about 5 years, he was Songwriter of the Year 2 years in a row for ASCAP.
About that.
But he was willing to put in the work, you know, and he wasn't afraid to work.
No, not at all.
And he was eat up by it, as they say. You know, after being burned over 90% of his body, he decided God wanted him to be a songwriter.
Isn't that something?
He moved here, and he was going to do it, whatever it took.
He's a Hall of Famer too now, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So great songwriter. 3 Wooden Crosses, one of them. That
oh God, you know that won every award that a song can win: gospel, country, Grammys, the whole bit. So
again, drive off the road song.
Exactly.
When you see that payoff, when you hear that payoff, it's just wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, first time you heard that song.
He liked to kill people.
He did.
In the songs, yeah. Papa loved Mama. You know.
That's right.
He
sure did, didn't he? But they're fictional people. It's okay.
Yeah, he said they don't kill people much anymore. You know,
they don't. I just flashed back to your story about If Tomorrow Never Comes, and you told Garth, it's great, but you're killing them in the first line.
Yeah, exactly. Where are you going to go?
Where are you going?
They're dead.
They're dead. Song's over. You know, yeah. Well, how about you play that Twilight Time as we wind down? Kent Blazy, so good to talk with you
today. Oh, man,
always.
You're so amazing at what you do. You make it fun. You make it easy, which is what it's supposed to be, you know.
Oh,
that's
man.
What
I love talking to you, man.
Jack Clement said, if we're not having fun, we're not doing our job. So,
gotta agree with that.
So this was I wanted it to be kind of like the band, you know. I always loved the feels that they had on things. And they did an album called Moondog Matinee that had a lot of 50s stuff on it because, of course, they were all influenced by that. But so I was kind of trying to aim for the band meets the 50s.
All right.
And it is funny that this is a song that a lot of people love at the end of the record. Who knew, you know?
Yeah.
Twilight time, and this world is yours and mine. The beauty of this moment is so sublime, holding you in twilight time. Twilight time, oh, it feels like heaven in your arms, mesmerized girl by all your charms, holding you in twilight time. Twilight time, in that golden hour, surrender to the love, and we feel its power. Two hearts in harmony, the song of you and me, just waiting to be sung. Twilight time, our two bodies so entwined, floating on a feeling so undefined, so fine, holding you in twilight time. Twilight time, in that golden hour, surrender to the love, and we feel its power. Two hearts in harmony, the song of you and me, just waiting to be sung. Twilight time, and this world is yours and mine, floating on a feeling so undefined, holding you in twilight time, holding you in twilight time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Oh, that's beautiful. Love the ending.
Thank you.
Where are the Platters when you need them?
I know, that would be great for them.
Wouldn't that be great? Mm-hmm. Awesome song. And you're going to love it on the record, which is called For the Byrds. It's the last track, track number 11. Kent Blazy, our guest.
And
awesome.
Dennis Mikowski played all the keyboards on that.
Yeah.
And he just did an amazing job on that song. Well, all of them. Mm-hmm. And great B3 player.
Yeah.
And great songwriter. Wrote Maniac, among other things.
That one there. Wow.
Yeah, how about that?
How about that?
And so he's always generous about playing on the records, and I love what he does. So he just turned that into something totally different.
That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Kent Blazy has been our guest. You'll see him in the, if you come to Nashville, visit the Songwriter Hall of Fame. You'll see him in there. And good to have you here. Really is nice to have you.
Good to be back. Glad you're good. Glad I'm good. And
we'll do it again sometime, hopefully.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'll start working on a new record so we can.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Thank you for listening to the Songwriter Connection podcast. Find us on social media at Songwriter Connection. Also, listen to Dave Lanahan's Nashville Connections radio show. It streams live every Friday morning on WOBL and WNOI. Look for us on Facebook and YouTube. See you next time on Songwriter Connection.